Hey guys, welcome back to Empire Prints. Today we are making a Lyonel Baratheon helmet from the new show Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. This is a interesting looking helmet, but I still think it looks really cool with the antlers. As you can see here, they are huge. I had to print them in two parts. Same with the Lyonel helmet. I had to slice it right here. It's way too big for my printer. I have a Bamboo Lab P1S, and I printed this all in PLA. It is really nice though, these antlers have a solid connection point, so you can get a nice secure connection for the helmet. They do weigh quite a bit, but I printed them at only 5% info, so they're really light, but still pretty sturdy. So let's get into sanding. So we're gonna start by sanding the helmet completely raw with 220 grit sandpaper. Really just do as much as you can. This is a really aggressive sand. You can be as rough as you want. You can use a mouse sander. I just personally really like the control of hand sanding. And when it comes to bamboo prints, it's not that bad to hand sand. It doesn't take too long. It's definitely a process, but I find the control is just way more efficient than having a mouse sander. But get this all sanded down with that 220 grit, and then we can move into our next step. For our next step, I'm using a literal cheat code to sanding prints. This makes sanding prints go by so fast, and you can get an entire helmet sanded within about a day or two. It just depends on the temperature outside. It is really cold up here in the Midwest, so took about 2 days to sand this helmet. But you want to use a Bondo, spot putty, and acetone, essentially a glaze. And if you do, I want to go too thick because you can get brush strokes, and then I just have more problems. So I tend to make it a little bit more watery, and then I'll do 3 to 4 heavy coats. Depending on the helmet, if a helmet has a lot of details, I'll be a little bit more careful. But if it's like a helmet like this, where I don't really have to worry about drowning the details out in this glaze, you can really dump it on. I would do 3 to 4 layers, and then it's almost totally ready for primer after that, and it goes by really quick. So get this Bondo on. I would wait about a minute or two between coats so you don't kind of rub off the previous coat. Once the Bondo acetone mixture has dried, before we go into sanding, you want to use just some straight Bondo spot putty and put it over any of the rough areas, such as the dome and the seam lines. Those are going to be your really big areas that you want to get as smooth as possible. After everything is dried, normally about an hour is what I give it in this cold weather, but that Bondo normally sets up in like 20 minutes. I just like to be safe so I don't actually wipe off all this Bondo if it's not fully cured. But I come in with a 400 grit sandpaper, and I'm just going to wet sand this thing down. You can go pretty rough, just don't go in one area for too long because you will kind of rub off all that Bondo. This Bondo sands incredibly easy, and that's why we're starting with that 400 grit. Once we've sanded our Bondo down, I want to come in with some Rust-Oleum filler primer and just give this thing a good thick coat. You don't have to worry about runs or anything at this point because we're going to be doing a couple more rounds of sanding. After putting a little bit of extra Bondo, once everything was dry on the seam lines and the dome area, we can go back to sanding with 400 grit sandpaper. By this point, the layer line's pretty much gone. We're just worrying about any imperfections that we missed or the seam lines in the dome. Those are really only the areas we're focusing on. By this point, we're just trying to get this thing smooth and ready for our paints. I will start off by saying that don't use this paint, or at least how I used it, don't use this paint. It did not work out because when I went to go put on the gold, the taped off areas where I taped off all the silver, when I removed the tape, completely destroyed that kind of metallic finish, and it was all like there was tape residue everywhere and the shine was gone. The metallic gold is perfect. That's the gold we want to use. So after I pulled off all the tape, I ended up just painting the entire helmet with that metallic gold, and we're going to hand paint the silver later on in the process, and I'll show you what colors I use to get that dull silver look that Lyonel has on his helmet. Now for the antlers, I'm using a mix of Vallejo Leather Brown and Vallejo Charred Brown. They're just a really good mixture to get that bone color. Mix it up with some water. You can use even a black wash mixed in there. But this is going to be our base color for the antlers. All I want you to do is get it to almost a wash stage, but you definitely want more paint than like a wash. It's almost like it's like a thick paint, but it's thinned down a little bit, so that way you're not getting all that color. You're pretty much just dyeing this white color to appear as a bone. And so that's kind of what I do here. Dab it on. Don't like wipe it on how you would a paintbrush, because then you're gonna have brush strokes. So just stipple it on over the whole antler and then dab it off with a paper towel. And this is gonna leave a lot more paint than if you were doing like a black wash. Now, if you'd like to stop here with that lighter bone color, you can, but Lyonel's antlers seem to have a much darker finish, and a couple different stag antler pictures that I saw are that darker color. So I wanted to match Lyonel's reference as best as I possibly could. So I just took a same type of like paint wash, a little bit of water mixed in with the Vallejo paint. Vallejo paint is very thin and it retains its pigment very well watered down. So it's a very good way to kind of stain this antler. But you want to use that charred brown after you use the mixture of the two, and this kind of darkens the antler to that bone color that we're looking for. And then just dab it off with a paper towel. You can come in with that charred brown, just paint, no wash, kind of make a couple different areas darker for some extra detail, and then the antlers are all finished. Now, coming back to the silver, I did several different layers, and I just stippled this on with a brush. It kind of gave me a nice texture for that silver that we see on Lyonel's helmet. It is not a chrome finish. It's a very dull metal, kind of like a sheet metal look from what I can see in the references, and it's heavily weathered. So that's what I did here with the Lyonel helmet. I just stippled on a mixture of Vallejo dark silver, and then I mixed in a little bit of black to get that dark color look. And I think it came out really good, and that stippled effect made a nice textured look to the metal. So unfortunately my camera died and I couldn't record this for you guys, but I did another black wash, just a really dark wash, dabbed it off with a paper towel, and then if you can kind of see, I dry brushed some Vallejo gold, this gold right here, amazing, just to bring some of that shine back and give it some depth, and I really think it came out great. So let's get into the glamour shots. If you made it this far in the video, thanks so much for watching. I did my best to get you guys some glamour shots. This helmet is huge. Those antlers stick up so high, and it did not fit in my photo booth. But as impractical as this is, I think Knight of the Seven Kingdoms has some amazing helmets, and I definitely do appreciate this design. It's very unique, and I think it stands out like most Baratheon helmets should with their big antlers. But I'm really excited to do more helmets like this for you guys in the future. Stay tuned, and I'll see you in the next one.